Memorial lectures coming up, and who else to address this very issue? And I'm glad it is not a man aligned to NPP or NDC. It is Professor Agyeman, Badu Akorsah. He loves the CPP, and I'm glad you're doing this lecture. You must find it quite frustrating and depressing the way we politicize issues in this country.
That is true, and for me, the worry concerned, the development of this country must involve everybody. And if a political party thinks that they have enough people to run this country to the exclusion of the many others, then there's no way that this country is going to develop. And I think that it is about time we confront the ills of polarization. And somebody would say, but why is an avowed Nkrumahist speaking on a Danko platform? I'm a fellow of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. And you need to be a fellow of that academy to, speak on any of their flagship activities. And I volunteered. And I must say that the academy was bold enough to accept me to speak on it. But you know what? An Nkrumahist speaking on a Danko platform, speaking about polarization in Ghana's politics. I think if you put your mind around it, you would immediately assume that this man wants a solution to this problem. And that is why I'm speaking on it. And it's a 3-day program. The first day today is speaking on the antecedents of the polarization. It didn't just start today.
It's been there for
It's been there for yonks. So we're talking about it, and then we're getting into the contemporary period on day 2, and then day 3 will be my future of the politics of Ghana.
Okay, now there's this question that I keep asking politicians in this country about the so-called world banks of the various political parties. The Ashanti region is considered the world bank of the NPP, the Volta region the world bank of the NDC. And they deny Ghanaians a lot of development. So if, for instance, you have a man who wants, or the other way around, Ashanti region will vote massively for one man who everybody would, reckon that this man can't take Ghana where we want to go. So how do we eradicate this supposed world bank of the various political parties?
But that is one of the major issues that will be discussed. But the fact of the matter is that it does not allow for proper representation of the people there. Now, but even if you take our whole parliament, once you've won a constituency as a member of parliament, you represent everybody in that constituency.
Exactly.
You do not represent members of your party alone. But I can assure you that all these members of parliament go back to their constituencies and they only meet with their party rank and file. There is nowhere that I know where a member of parliament would call a surgery and meet a cross-section of the people of his constituency. It is always his people. And you probably even talk to others at your own peril, because the next primary, you'll be impeached.
Yeah, it will be used against you.
It will be used against you. Now, we have got to address it by beginning this whole education about our democracy.
Do we understand it?
Well, insofar as a country, we've been able to change governments twice and have had a smooth transition. I would say that we are on the road. It's a work in progress, and we've got to get there somehow. But the fact of the matter is that there are ills in our democratic process. Somehow we want to be a multi-party democratic country, but we're not prepared to learn from those who've done it for, say, 300 years. But it's important we learn. If you go to UK, there is no way that you would hear political debate 24/7 on radio. There is no way you will hear serial callers paid for by political parties to call in. They are the pretty intolerant people. They will call in and hail insults at anybody,
And the one that got me very irked was recently serial callers in Takoradi saying that they have not been paid.
You understand? I mean, I've spoken about serial callers, God knows how many times. And each time, you get a rebuff from them, almost to say that what they're saying is untrue. But when I heard that, I said, blimey. Now, you are telling us that the party that sponsors you is not looking after you well, so you're going on strike. So, it's clear, but I'm saying that there's nowhere in this world where there is a category of serial callers that operate in the political space, except Ghana. And is that a novelty? I think it's disgraceful. And it's one of the things that hopefully I'll be speaking to, that we need to abolish it. That political parties who do that, somehow people should be, annoyed or angry enough to be able to give them, sort of splash eggs on their faces, so to speak. So these are some of the issues that we will be discussing. But these are, the interesting thing is that as you go into the political history of this country, you begin to realize that a lot of the things that are happening today happened many years ago. I'll just give you a little example. Legislative Assembly elections of 1935 between Kojo Thompson Road. A lot of people don't know who that Kojo Thompson was. Kojo Thompson versus Dr. F.V. Nanka Bruce, OBE, MBCHB, Edinburgh. That is his full name. If you don't add that, you are disrespecting him. So you can really imagine, of the Ratepayers Association against Kojo Thompson of the Mambi Party. Elections became very acrimonious. In the end, Kojo Thompson wins. Nanka Bruce appeals for the election to be annulled and a rerun in 1936. And Kojo Thompson wins with an even greater majority. So some of these things, I tell you, have happened before. And acrimony in politics is just because we do not understand politics. And for me, one of the major things that I'll be talking about is that, look, we finished elections more than a year. Campaign materials are still all over the place. Why? If anybody enters this country and listens to radio and television and goes around the country, the person will think that we are having elections probably in a week or 2 weeks' time. The mayors are there, the MDCs are there. Why can't they rid this country of all these electioneering material? Just so that we have a clean break, and for 3.5 years, we do development of this country. I'll be calling for a start of a political season. So if
6 months?
6 months. 6 months, we then declare that the political season is on. And then anybody and everybody can do whatever. But for 3.5 years, let us all focus on the development agenda of this country. You know something? In 1933, America's population, 36% of whites were unemployed. 39% of whites were unemployed. 56% of blacks were unemployed. That was America in depression. And they did everything to get out of that. 85% of Ghanaians are unemployed. And it is status quo. It doesn't matter. Nothing, has happened. There's no urgency in anything in this country.
Do you see a national agenda?
There's no national agenda. But you see, again, this is one of the things. There must be a national agenda. A long-term national agenda from which political parties will take their manifesto and nuance it to their political ideology or philosophy. It is absolutely crucial. If we don't do that, this country just moves forward, 1 step forward, 2 steps backwards, 2 steps forward, 1 step. That is where we are now. And let me say something. This country, people take us for a joke in the very serious democracies. And I'll make a statement as to who said this to me. And this is somebody that we all knew, we all loved, and walks in some of the most, should I say, classified environments. You understand? You go there and they recognize you as a Ghanaian and they say that you people are a joke.
That's shameful.
It is shameful. And this is this country. It's because, sadly, we don't seem to be, there's no urgency in anything. I mean, water, for example. Water is going to be a big problem in the next 3 months in this country. And you would have thought that the Ministry of Works and Housing would by now be putting contingency plans that will ensure that all tankers in this country are, put in various strategic positions so that everybody can get water. Are they doing that? Of course not. So we are there, and it's almost as if, mind your own business and may the good Lord help all of us.
would you fault the media to some extent? Do you think the media is playing its role properly as a member of the political realm, a fourth state of the political realm?
No. And I think that one of the impacts of the pluralization of the media landscape is the fact that those who own have political affiliations, and therefore there are lots of radio stations that are bent or aligned. And you see, it creates problems. And at the end of the day, I'm saying that, look, there is enough news in this country. It doesn't have to be politics. So 24/7 radio, 24/7 television, all right, is almost as if because we do not have news, we always have to bring an MPP person, an NDC person to come and slug it out. But let them do documentaries. There's so much, happening. Good, bad, indifferent in this country, that we can occupy the media landscape with the development agenda. If, for example, somebody said, look, for the whole month of March, we're looking into housing, and you go around and do photo shoots of uncompleted houses and begin to discuss the amount of money people have sunk into those houses and for years are not getting any benefit. And there is no system in this country. I tell you, anywhere else, somebody's business will be to identify the owner, to identify a money system and bring them together. Just so that that house or that building can be completed so that people can go live in it and, the repayment will be staggered. But nobody's doing that. So you have to take money out of your pocket, attempt to do something, and of course, if your money runs out, the house is there.
Okay. Let me go back to the issue you raised about the media bringing in NPP, NDC to slug issues out. Would you say that it's become so because we don't have options? I mean, the CPP...
Why don't we have options? It doesn't have to be political debate.
Okay.
Or if you're dealing with housing, for example.
No, not about housing or any other thing. But in the morning, if, for instance, they want to have a political, discourse.
Well, why political discourse? In any case, you see, there are people in political science that you can bring a political
science experts
to come and talk on the issues. Don't bring, you see, many times I've been called onto a station because I hold a certain view. And they would have virtually called somebody who they know holds a diagrammatically opposing view. So as soon as you speak, it is as if that person has called in, but they have called that person. Just so that there will be that kind of tension, because otherwise you've got a free reign. But you are putting certain views that you think, can be either developed or can be, stretched laterally to see how it will impact on this country. But everything need not be a slugging match between two people or two political parties for that matter. So as far as I'm concerned, there are experts. If you went to established democracies, they're not going to bring a labor. They will do that only when one political party is having their conference. So if it's a Labour Party conference, every evening, depending on what is being discussed on the conference floor, you have a Conservative or a Liberal to come and give their party's, perspective. That is different. But anything else, they'll bring an expert from any of the universities or any of the established think tanks and say, come give us an expert's view on this. But in this country, apart from that, they would then bring phone calls. Well.
Okay, but let me also pick your thought on the issue of tribalism.
Ouch. As far as I'm concerned, the word tribe is a very, very condescending word. We will talk ethnicity. I wrote an article a long time ago in the Graphic on ethnicity. And one of the things that I said is that if you took 1,000 Ashantis, 1,000 Evers, 1,000 Gas, 1,000 Dagbon, Fantis, and you did their DNA, you'll be amazed at how many of them can claim purity. And yet, people speak almost to the exclusion of other tribes. You see, as a country, sadly, the nation Gold Coast at that time was an amalgamation of tribes. There was nothing like developing a national consciousness. That took place, during the First Republic. But it was also against the viciousness of tribal politics. And today I'll be talking about NLM, which was almost, an Ashanti-centered movement that felt that they could not allow, let me say this, a little unknown from Nzima to be the president of this country. And for good or for ill, they had to get him out, So there were issues based on the ethnicity of an individual. And today, our politics is like that. The World Bank is as a result of tribal politics. And we do this all the time. But at the end of the day, if this country is progressive, does it not inure to everybody?
Absolutely.
Whether you are from X or Y or Z. So it is this country. And I wish that we could all begin to talk about Ghana. That is why there was a mantra once upon a time, one nation, one people with one great destiny. Why can't that become almost like, a swan song? Let everybody say it all the time. One nation, one people with one great destiny. The air I breathe is the same air that you breathe. It might be different air in Nigeria. It might be different air in Togo. But as far as Ghana is concerned, we breathe the same air. And why can't we sit down and begin to look into ourselves and say that no, this country is more important than anything else. And let's build a country that is integral, that harvests the intellectual might and the creativity and imagination of all people in Ghana. There are many Akorsahs walking the streets who could easily have been professors in pathology like I am. They are walking the streets because of lack of opportunity. And yet, Ghanaians look down upon them. You deprive them of opportunity, and a double whammy, you look down and disrespect them. No, that is not the country that, I wish I was born in. It's a country that gives everybody opportunity, and based on your talent, you take the next 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. But at least you would have been put on a platform that enables you to stretch yourself based on your God-given talent.
Okay, so I'm hoping that everything you say at this lecture will be headlined, across.
Or there'll be a lot of new information. Okay. And I will be criticizing the intelligentsia of this country. The political history of this country has not been properly written. Those who've written it have been biased and have aligned it to themselves, to whatever political allegiances that they have. But you see, there must be a history of this country, well told, the truth, so that posterity would begin to understand and appreciate the nuances that we all go through. Anything short of that, there's a historical society of Ghana. So why haven't they written the definitive history of this country, including the political history? I did the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Lectures in 2009, in the centenary of Nkrumah's birth, on Ghana, the house Nkrumah built. And in my research, I struggled to get information on NLM, for example, because nobody wants to write about it, because it inflames passion. And in doing this research, thank God, I've managed to get a source from which, the information just blows my mind. It blows my mind that a whole ethnic group can, pour libation, the great oath that says that any person of this tribe who supports this political party or this man, what it means is that you have infringed on the great oath of a tribe. Why? Why? Is that politics? No. That is not politics. And that is not multi-party democracy. Somebody in my reading, somebody defined democracy as, democracy happens when the loser accepts the results of an elections and prepares themselves and engages the populace so that in the next 4 years or whenever, the populace will see them as a better alternative. That is democracy.
Okay, now since you brought this, up, you just took my mind to something else. The winner takes all.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't see anything wrong with it, provided, of course, that we have established a meritocracy. If you are competent and good, you get a job.
But that's not what we're saying.
Well, you see, the winner takes all becomes almost like not the basis. But if you lived in a country where you get a job by virtue of what you know, then at the end of the day, you know that, look, I'm capable, and therefore I will be made what? Director General of the Ghana Health Service. By competency. Okay? You do your work, you do your work. There's nothing like tomorrow somebody is on your heels because you are not aligned to a certain political party, so and so. I have said that, you know, an inclusive government means that it is harvesting the intellectual might of the whole country. So you would be given an appointment because of your capability, not because you are a member or aligned.
In the wolf.
Thank you. Thank you. That is the expression. You know, once you do that, it is an inclusive system because everybody will get a job by virtue of their merit, not because they are aligned to a certain political party. And that would mean that all public jobs should be by open advert. All right? I'm saying that, let's say on Monday, the pool out should be vacancies in the health sector. On Tuesday, the pool out should be vacancies in the education sector, etc., etc., etc. So that everybody knows that this is a system that is devoid of who you know and the nuances of political allegiances. That for me is it. But the fact that a party has taken a manifesto and have persuaded the people of this country to vote for them, to sit down and expect that they should then begin to trade with, no. One of the things that I also talk about is the fact that I think that this second round business should stop. It should stop.
Why?
It is important that a party that fails to get 50+1 negotiates with the smaller parties. That is what happens in most places. You negotiate. And if your policies are such that we can compromise here and there, they throw their weight behind you. Then you get your 50+1. All right? But this whole rule run is almost as if, well, then I've got a few days who has the greater pocket, you know, can buy the remaining, percentages to enable the person to get 50+1. That, for me, is wrong. And these are some of the things that in the 3 days I'll be talking about. But I will be breaking a lot of new ground because there's a lot of information that is not found anywhere. Not in our history books, not in publications even from political science department, etc., etc. But somehow one has managed to, lay hands on very pertinent information that will be released in the 3 days that I'll be giving my lectures.
Okay, Professor Agyeman Badu Akorsah, thank you very much. You'll be speaking at the 47th J.B. Dankwa Memorial Lecture on the theme, Ghana's Polarized Political Terrain.